Welcome everyone to episode 113 of Raw Sport. My name is Ahmed El Houli, and we are back with another banger of an episode with the man himself, legendary matchmaker, Mr. Roberto Diaz. How are you, sir? How's things?
I'm doing great. Thank you once again for having me, and uh, I really appreciate it.
My utmost pleasure. Um, the internet has been absolutely beaming in the last 24 hours about a fighter that you manage. Um, let's clear the air. Roberto, Lamont Roach Jr. is your fighter. He was
I
expected,
advise him. I
yeah,
advise him.
you're part of his team. Yep.
Hmm.
He was expected to fight Tank Davis in a rematch after many saw a very interesting first fight. But there's talks that this fight is no longer happening. Can you give us an update on what's going on?
Yes, we're obviously found the news a few days ago of an arrest. Um, he's out. I'm hoping he's back in training, but at this particular time, there's definitely uncertainty if the fight's going to go as planned, as scheduled. So we are talking to people at PBC. We're talking with Lamont and his dad and Gary Jonas at ProBox and seeing, you know, Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D is basically what we have to come up with now to make sure that if it's not rescheduled or the date changes and it is going to be Tank, when, where, and if it's not going to be, who, then, when, and where.
Wow, interesting.
Hopefully to have some information in the next couple of days because obviously Lamont's been training, looking forward to another fight. Obviously his preference was the rematch, but it's out of our hands now.
These fighters that put in a ton of preparation to prepare for fights. He's been training for months on end. This is disheartening. How do you recover from something like this?
You hit it. It is disheartening, but I think March 1st was disheartening when they didn't give him the just due and the decision he deserved and the knockdown. But he just wanted to make it right. He wanted to show the world. He wanted that opportunity again to correct that bad decision. Um, but you know what? It's written. We just have to wait for it to come in its perfect time and its proper time. And I know sooner or later that fight will happen.
Wow, there you go. All right, let's recap a huge weekend of boxing. Lots of conversations, lots of action. Um, One for the ages, actually. It definitely delivered. It was very, very impressive. We start with Shakur Stevenson defending his WBC lightweight title against William Zepeda. Did the fight live up to the hype from a matchmaking standpoint?
100%. 100%. I mean, this is from coming from somebody that signed Cepeda many years ago, who did most of his fights. Um, he showed what we all seen from him, what we expected from him. Um, Great conditioning, throwing punches in bunches, attacking, wanting to win. There was never a doubt if he wanted to or not. And then many questions were answered on the doubters of how good is Shakur. Everybody, a lot of people thought they knew the answer, but I think now there's no question. Shakur put on a brilliant performance, at times backing William back and just showing composure, because you could easily get discouraged. You can easily get uh, intimidated, stop throwing when you got somebody just throwing so many punches. And William did a great job, not only just throwing a lot of punches, but he was working the body, which a lot of times in the past we haven't seen a lot of body work. This time it was body, top, going down to the body again, shooting the body shot. So he did a very good job, but all props to Shakur. I mean, he showed a step up into his game, and it's scary to see such a young man with such a ring IQ, that can make those adjustments. So very comfortable against the ropes, really uh, reminiscent of Mayweather. And I don't like to say because everything, Canelo learned from Mayweather and he was very comfortable on the ropes in the first Triple G. But it's very rare to find a fighter being attacked in that fashion that's comfortable against the ropes. And I think the last time I seen it was Canelo against Triple G, Floyd in all his fights, and on Saturday we saw it with Shakur. So all props to him. I think you have one of the top, no doubt about it, top three, top four fighters pound for pound in the world.
Do you believe this was Shakur Stevenson's confirmation as a top five pound for pound in the world? This fight really brought out the best in him.
I think we haven't seen the best. I just think we've seen the best version yet because this is the fighter that brought that out. This is a fighter that I know William. I know William came to win. I know William believed he can win. So he had to, and I don't think he was ever really discouraged into, okay, I'm not going to win, so I'll go the distance. I think he tried to win up to the last round, but yes, we've seen the best of him, of Shakur so far, but I think there's more to see, more to come.
Absolutely. I want to quickly switch to the MVP promotions fight night, the all women's fight night that had over 19,000 people inside the arena, done over $2.5 million gate. From the stats that came out this morning, over 6 million people tuned in from start to end. It peaked at 4.2 million viewers. Katie Taylor came out and won again. We had a lineal champion in Australia, Sugar Neeks. There was a $250,000 bonus on the night. Jake Paul really, really stepped it up, man. He really stepped it up.
I'm glad you went back to that card because as a card in general, I'm watching both at home, watching both on the tube, but in general, not taking anything away from none of the fighters, the atmosphere of the big card seemed like it was that Friday. And everybody that knows me in the past, once I became a fan of matching women and doing women fights on professional boxing, I became a big advocate of trying to add on every card a woman's fight. And to see an all women's card, so many titles, so much desire, and you could see, how do I put it, their appreciation of the stage, because in all the fights you saw the participants, the fighters giving it 100%. There wasn't one, you know what? I'm just here to collect the payday. And no, they all wanted to put thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to give you heart and soul. And as far as the main event, I think this was a classic of they know each other so well now. And Katie fought so intelligent of the counter punching, staying just that much away where Serrano couldn't land her punches. And as soon as you got in close, pop, 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 and I'm out of there. And Serrano, I think, what worked the first and second time was her punches, her power, and just didn't get close enough to land those power shots. So props to them. I commend them. They've done tremendous for all the women underneath. They've done tremendous for themselves. Jake Paul, Nakisha, wow, you're killing it, man. I think I tweeted something like, congratulations, because you guys did a hell of a job to put on Netflix. So many views. Like you said, 19,000 in Madison Square Garden. The atmosphere seemed alive. Celebrities left and right. I enjoyed that card very much.
Roberto, was that the greatest trilogy in women's boxing?
Absolutely. You had not only the greatest trilogy, but but hands down, probably one of the greatest, the two of the top best female fighters we've ever seen. I
Wow.
think Amanda obviously had her run, winning world championships in multiple weight classes like nobody else has done, but knocking people out. Katie's IQ and her adjustments is incredible, and her will to win. I mean, she was hurt with Amanda the first time. I thought she was out and still came back and won the later rounds to win the decision. So, um, when Katie's mentioned as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, with all the achievements, it's hard to argue that because it's not only the achievements she's done now, it's all the achievements from the amateur days.
Why has it taken somebody like a Jake Paul to come and put female boxing on the map? What's the story like? Is it just purely neglect or what is it?
I think a lot has to do with he's the young blood, the young promoter, and what else is not going on out here versus the traditional old school promoters that okay, I may sign one, I may sign two, but it's not going to replace this. I found very entertaining, almost easy to match because I just want an opportunity. It's one of those put me in coach type deals. Okay, here it is. And then, wow, how impressive. Rarely was there, oh no, the opponent's too tall. Oh no, the opponent hits too hard. Oh no, the opponent's a southpaw. Rarely do you get those. It's how much, when, and where. And that's what was fascinating to me. And most of the time, you get to see wars. Those 2 minutes
Yeah.
go so quick. They don't have that 1 minute of, all right, let me fill you out. They go in and start throwing from first minute and first round. So you do see entertaining fights.
So he's gone all in on women's boxing pretty much. He's stacking cards from start to end, women's fights only. For many years, we heard it's not financially viable. What has he found or discovered that others have not discovered, or is he just simply filling the void in the sport? What are your what's the secret here? There's a secret sauce that we're missing.
I think now is we're seeing equally matched fights. I think we're seeing an equal playing field. Many years ago, when the U.S. stage was strong, and I'm going back to Christy Martin, Lila. There was some figures. It was Am Wolf, Christy, Mia St.
Holly Holm.
John's, Holly Holm, but you had really they didn't have opponents.
Okay.
They were the top one, and then 10 no opponents. Right now, almost in every division, you as a fan could say, okay, now this is a good fight because that talent pool is so much better. Holly, Layla, all these women from yesteryear motivated what we're seeing today. The Marlens, the Senicias, the Yocasta, and they are motivating that next generation that's coming. I mean, I'm a big fan of Meyer. I saw her fight, and I'm like, man, she can fight. And I met her in person. She's super cool. You get to know that, and then you see that the talent level. And again, they're just give me an opportunity. I'll show you. And right now, it's endless possibility of so many fights to happen. Look at Fundora, undisputed at a very young age, but she didn't just win against vacants or against anybody. She went out there and beat some world champions. So the talent level, it's getting to a point in many countries where now it's accepted, it's supported, and now you're seeing some very good talent out there. So that makes for interesting fights. And I think he's smart. Look, if Jake was to do traditional one, who do you sign right now? Almost everybody's tied up. That's going to be a main event. So how do I, if I'm going to go in and put it on a platform and get 19,000 people, who am I going to put? I can't fight every month. So I know, boom, let's go do
Yeah.
this. And it's working. It's working. The 3 fights have done tremendous numbers, one better than the other. And I think that shows that, one, boxing in general is alive and kicking.
Oh
Two,
yeah.
if you put on good matches, the people will show, the people will support. And now it gives the opportunities to say, all right, now let's do another division, something similar.
What do you attribute that development to? Because as you said, a few years ago, we didn't have these sorts of numbers, and the divisions weren't filling up quick enough for that development to happen, for that fighter turnover to occur, for that exciting matchups. What's changed in the last 10 years for that development to actually occur?
I think you go in 10 years ago, maybe you walked into the gym and you saw 2 girls training, hitting the heavy bag, sparring. I think today you go into the gym and you see 15 girls. Um, they've motivated. Fathers have accepted more. Okay,
So
my
it's
daughter, yeah, you could.
generational mentalities.
Correct.
Okay.
Think of it, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I don't have a daughter, but I would have said, no, I don't even
Mhm.
want my sons to box. So much less I'm going to want my daughter to box. And, I think Layla said it the other day on the telecast that her dad never thought she was going to box or didn't
Mm.
like the idea until she saw how serious it was and how good she was, that it uh, convinced them. But I think little by little, as a father maybe doesn't have a son and loves boxing, takes the daughter in, and then starts seeing how good she's doing in the amateurs and winning and getting the accolades, going pro. That motivated another dad to accept his daughter. And I think today, I mean, I know in LA, there's so many girls knocking on that door. I mean, just looking for those opportunities. And I think that opened up trainers, opening up more and saying, okay, yes, I'll train. Maybe there was that unknown. I know for a fact when it was brought to me the very first time of considering signing our first female when I was at the at Golden Boy, I was like, I don't know, I'm not ready. That was me, not the naive of how am I going to match her? Where am I going to find opponents? Who's going to get me the opponents? Where do I start? Something I knew blindfolded with the men, it was unknown for me. But once we signed the very first one, which was Marlene Esparza, the Olympian, and started developing her, I mean, from there came Senicia, from there came Areli Muncino, from there came, I mean, so many women after that followed because it was like, wow, this is getting competitive, exciting, and you start planning 2, 3 steps ahead.
Absolutely. It's almost become fashionable now for females to be involved in boxing. I
It
think
almost
it's
saves the show because sometimes when the guys don't deliver,
yeah.
they save the show.
Yeah, I mean, but even if you look at culture now, and one of the things I realized is started at the YouTube level and the whole female content creator level where they made it fashionable, and now it's moved into the pro ranks, and honestly, they've become an integral part of the boxing ecosystem. If we're going to look at it and be completely honest, but if we go back to Jake, because I'm really intrigued as to what he's doing. This new age kid has come in. Me and you have spoken about this before. He's surrounded himself with the best possible outfit he can in today's world. Trainers that can commit to him full time, because there's a lot of great trainers out there, but they got their own stables, their own people. You got to come into their world, not these people go, not they go into his world. So what we're seeing is this guy who's come off, he's giving the sport everything he can in the ring. He's giving the sport everything he can outside the ring. He's done the first Netflix deal. Netflix is now heavily getting involved in boxing. We saw the card the all women's card, which was historic. It's going to happen on Netflix. We're seeing Allegiant, the Alvarez and Crawford card happening on on Netflix, which we can contribute that to, or attribute that to his innovation, right? This guy got ranked in the top 15 of the WBA. There was a crazy amount of backlash, and I I would love to hear your thoughts on that ranking. I know you've seen this in our sport over the years. You've been involved for a very, very long time. Uh, does he deserve the ranking? And not just in the ring. Don't just look at it inside the ring. Let's look at it as a whole and what he's doing for the sport.
It's just going to surprise a lot of people. I love the question. It puts me on the spot. I'm right against the wall, but I'm going to tell you because I've seen so many people complain. I understand the fans complaining. I understand the media complaining because there's one and the same in the sense that a lot of times they do complain. So don't expect them not to.
It's normal.
But when I saw a lot of promoters complaining, I'm like, guys, this is no different than your fighter who doesn't deserve the ranking being in the ranking because of a long lasting relationship or because they won the right fight or because it's no different. I mean, I'm okay with the ranking. I'm not a fan of watching the fights, of tuning into the fights, but I gotta give the guy credit for, I don't know, what was it, 3 years ago? I'm gonna be a boxer. We all laughed.
Yeah, all of us.
The laughing stopped when thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and I don't know how many millions, were watching him fight Tyson. Okay. Oh man, this guy's crazy, but look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
How many eyes is he bringing into the business or to the sport? Maybe it's first timers that are watching this. Hopefully they stick around for the good of our sport down the line. And now they still criticize him. Yeah, because he beat, okay, he didn't beat a 60-year-old, he beat a 40-year-old. Okay, but gradually all the fighters that we build as promoters or managements or trainers are gradually stepping it up. What do they want on his first day to go fight Canelo or go fight the heavyweight champion of the world? He's gradually going there. Now, if the fans are so against it, every champion has a voluntary and a mandatory. They're not saying Jake Paul's your mandatory now because he beat Chavez Jr. Well, he's ranked number 15. Hey, champion, you could do a voluntary against this guy because he's in the top 15. Now, if I'm a manager, if I'm a promoter, and if I'm the fighter, please pick me. We want that fight as a world champion. Now, whether Jake thinks he can win it or fights for it and wins it or loses, whatever, just think of it. How many of us can, in any sport, I'm not just even saying boxing, say, I'm going to be a football player tomorrow. I'm going to be a baseball player tomorrow, much less a fighter getting hit. And I fought for the world title. Now, here's what I see on the outside looking in. If Jake doesn't become a boxer, become a promoter, do you get the Netflix deal? Do you fill up the venues with thousands of people to see that undercard, to wait for that main? But now he established a relationship. He showed the networks, the venues. I have a team behind me. There's a machine that can get a show done. If I retire after my world title opportunity, there's still a company named MVP that now has a roster and that can be taken care of and now take it over. I think he's done an amazing job, and it had to have been done that way. He couldn't have asked for I don't know, maybe he could have, but he couldn't have said, I need a meeting with Netflix because I have a stable. Oh, who's your stable? Well, I got Amanda Serrano. Well, I don't know if we're ready for Amanda Serrano to give you a date. He opens up the door, gives him the platform, and now we show the world, look, Amanda Serrano can be a main event, not once, twice, and three times. So I think he's been very intelligent, him and his team. And again, whether he continues long term or this ends in the next fight, MVP's on the map, and I would take him very serious. And look, their fighters are happy. That's the important thing. The fighters are happy. All the women on that card, everybody was thanking and appreciative. And from what I heard, very well paid.
Yeah, and covered widely by all media,
Yep. Yep.
more than the men.
It seemed like a bigger card. I mean, and that's what I alluded to earlier, that watching on the TV, the atmosphere and everything was there. Obviously, the fights were good here on Saturdays as well, but the atmosphere, the celebrities, the how loud, the attendance, but that's why it was a great weekend of sports. We saw some very good fights on Friday and Saturday.
Okay, we'll keep going. Edgar Berlanga, the king of New York, versus Hamza Shiraz. I don't think many people expected it to go that way. What are your thoughts on the fight, pre, during, post?
So coming into the fight, when it was announced, Berlanga, because we make the same mistake. We always tend to base the fighter off their last fight, the performance against Adames. But as it got closer, I even went on a couple podcasts. I did a couple interviews, and I said, you know what? You could see an upset. And then 2 days before the fight, after the press conference, I was talking to somebody that's very close, that knows Berlanga, and he was like, no, Berlanga. And I said, you know what? I understand your point, but I'd be afraid of Shiraz right now. From what I'm seeing, he's so calm, so relaxed. I said, this guy's confident. He's not lost, because, it's my first time in the U.S. At that press conference, he was so calm. I belong here. And yes, Berlanga sold it. He's a promoter. He was fighting with everybody,
Especially Oscar.
especially Oscar. But that's just Berlanga. I think he needs that, to rile him up, get him ready, pump him up. I'm in fight mode, but there's a lot of wasted energy right there. A lot of wasted energy. And even after you leave, that energy still go. I just saw, we say, perro que ladra no muerde. And it translates to the dog that barks doesn't bite. And I'm not saying it because of Berlanga. I'm saying it because of Shiraz. Very quiet, not barking. So I told this good friend of mine, I said, I smell an upset. Now, never in my wildest dreams did I think a devastating knockout like that. I even posted something of that knockout in the way, in the fashion, the 1-2 at the end as he's going down, reminded me so much of Mike Tyson from the 1-2 with Buster Douglas. Not the fight itself, but the way he was out on his feet.
He was gone. Yeah.
He was gone.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I saw is I saw him a little weak in the resistance.
Yeah.
Canelo hit him with a beautiful shot and bangs the gloves and gets up, and it doesn't look wobbled or anything, and it continues boxing and moving. But Saturday night, I didn't see that resistance. You got to ask yourself, did he
Why?
cut a lot of weight? And was he weak to make the weight? Berlanga's a big kid. He didn't look as big Saturday as he did with Canelo. So, obviously, a lot of times what happens, and I'm not going to say to take away anything from Shiraz, but did he take him so lightly? And Not that he didn't prepare. I think he prepared. If he made weight, he prepared. His body looked good in shape. But I don't need 8 weeks to get ready for this guy. I'm gonna do another week of enjoying myself, eating, drinking, whatever, having a good time. And then it gets closer and closer. And when you get into camp with a short time, there's a big weight cut, and that
Yeah.
depletes you. So I didn't see that same strong guy, but I did see, on the other hand, a kid that quietly he did it how it's supposed to be done, how you as a boxing fan love to be done. And I think that's where a star is born. A quiet kid that just quietly showed up and performed. Very similar to Lamont. Very similar to Lamont. Without the talking, just went in and backed it up. And I think Shiraz has an amazing future. Um, this is going to give him another level of confidence. And I was even the thing that surprised me the most, and I was talking to Jason Quigley earlier, who was in the corner, is with the height and reach. That's where I thought he would give Berlanga a lot of trouble, keeping him on the outside. But I was very surprised that he can box on the inside with that height and reach and yet be so effective.
Why? What's this mean now for Balanga? It's a devastating loss. He's fought Canelo. Canelo's the pinnacle. Many say Canelo carried him after the knockdown. True or not true, we don't know. But Shiraz exposed him. What's the future look like in your opinion? If you had Balanga as one of your fighters, what would you do with him?
I think he needs a good time off. Or if you're okay, so you have two choices. You bring him back right away, right after the suspension, after the rest, go into camp. You bring him in right away to get the knockout loss done and over with.
Yeah,
Because the longer that goes, the more it messes with your psyche. You could be doing everything in camp, training, doing sparring, everything's good. The moment that bell rings, when a knockout puncher who knocks everybody out gets knocked out, what the? I've never been here before. So it
how does he recover? Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
exactly. So it's very important the next one or two. Uh, the fighter's going to, I'll fight anybody now. Get me the rematch. You want to hear that. You want to hear that. Okay. But, okay, if you do it again and get knocked out again, it's over. Bring him back slowly. You want to see how he reacts to the first time you get hit again.
Yeah,
That's what happened with Haney. He didn't get knocked out by Ryan, but even though he did everything in the gym properly and everything, it wasn't a fight. And once that bell rang, there was those nerves of what's going to happen when I get hit again. But you would think after 4 or 5 rounds, okay, let me settle down. I got hit. I got a couple, I'm fine. And settle back down. He never did. It's going to take a couple fights for him to get into that. I've seen it in the past with several fighters that weren't even knockout guys, but it lingers here. It's worse with a guy who's so used to knocking you out. I mean, once with Tyson got knocked out, that invincibility aura of
yeah.
him
It
started
disappears.
disappearing, and guys
Yeah.
weren't as intimidated anymore. And then they started, once they lost that intimidation factor, he lost a lot of his wins.
Hmm. And the thing with Balanga is, looking from the outside in, he seems to be very invested in the fame, the names, these affiliations that come with the actual sport. It's almost like he's more interested in the fame than what's he's got to do inside the ring. And we saw that if you see the memes on social media, I haven't seen a fighter get destroyed in that fashion with memes in a long, long time. People went after him big time.
Well,
Uh,
I think that has a lot to do with life, how cruel It is, and punishing it is on you because 1 minute you're everybody's favorite. Tomorrow, one loss, and everybody's but it's sort of a little bit of brought on yourself. And that's why I'm saying, if he wouldn't have promoted it the way he did, Shakur really wasn't. I mean, maybe towards the end at the press conference, but he was more quiet. Cepeda is very quiet. Shiraz is very quiet. So really, he carried all that on his shoulders to make all that. But I think it has that hip hop lifestyle, New York, Brooklyn, uh, Puerto Rican, urban. He grew up Puerto Rican with the black community. So I think he comes from that. So that is him. But there has to be a point. I remember telling one of the fighters years ago, because when you're a fighter on TV on the biggest stage, that's where many people get to know who you are. They don't know you when you're off on the undercards, not fight. But once you get to that big stage, everybody wants a piece of you.
Yeah.
So I remember one fighter that got called to do a reality show or a movie. And I said, remember, boxing got you there. So don't because after the movie and the reality show, he seemed to focus more on, I like that better than the fighting. It pays me. I'm a famous because people recognize me. Hey, are you the guy from the movie? And I don't have to get hit. But it's what got you into that position. Once you stop boxing or once you start losing, we don't need you in the next movie anymore. Or we don't want you on the reality TV. You're being brought, unless you're so gifted that you're a tremendous actor and that replaces your boxing career. But I think he got a taste of fame from the Canelo fight, and everybody's going to love it. Everybody's going to love it. So I think right now it's a matter of regrouping. Has he made enough money to ride off into the sunset? I think so. If that's the level of how he wants to live. If he wants more or wants to come back and clean this up, then he really has to say, okay, everything off to the side. I'm going to give it 2-3 more years, 100%, and things are going to change around of how to do things and take it more serious. And devastating loss, we've seen fighters come back, but he just has to see where this is at. This is the important thing. Physically, he can get 2 months camp, 3 months camp. He could be ready to go. But this is hard to control because it could turn on you just like that.
Roberto, is Belanga a victim of the old style of boxing, um, the boxing rise, where we pad records to 16 and 0, 17 and 0, then we get into a position where now they can have a shot at a title, and then pretty much you either sink or swim.
Yes and no. Not a victim because of that route, he got the Canelo fight. Being undefeated, Puerto Rican, the young guy that's knocked out everybody, 17 knockouts in the first round, got him the Canelo fight.
Brooklyn, New York, big
Exactly.
market. Yeah.
Yep. However, had he fought, let's say in the 10th fight, all right, let's really see what he has, and gets knocked out in this fashion or whatever, he loses, then he doesn't get these big stage fights and make the money. So I see it as, it's a way of looking at what route do you go. I think there's certain fighters like Berlanga that you say, let's take this route because you know what? Maybe you see something early on that, he might not pass this test. Let's just get him to the big test. And he is very marketable. He could sell. He is, look, there's fighters out there that won't sell.
Mm-hmm.
And they're tremendous fighters, but they don't sell. So as a
Yeah.
promoter or as a manager on the other side or some the other side, they're gonna be like, yeah, you know what? He doesn't sell and he can fight. Why am I gonna risk it? But this guy, on the other hand, whether he can fight or not, I'll be the judge of that. But he can sell, and that's what you need. And the proof is when Canelo fought Munguia, and then when Canelo fought Berlanga. If I remember correctly, Canelo and Munguia, or Canelo and Berlanga did better numbers than the Munguia fight, but that was because Berlanga helped sell his part,
Hmm.
where Munguia, there was a lot of respect, and that's typical between two Mexicans, but unless you're Barrera and Morales. But I think that's what got him those big paydays. And look, it's still not over. Munguia, very similar, gets knocked out after the Canelo fight,
Hasn't
comes back.
recovered. Yeah.
Exactly. And now you could put the box off of the box off. You can get the two guys that lost the Canelo, and then Post went on to get beat by somebody else, now fighting each other for, I guess it was second place, but now really they could be fighting for third place. And it's still a good fight because Mexico against Puerto Rico, two big punchers, but two suspect chins now, as people will say, because they've been knocked
Mm.
out. So you're
Yeah.
going to get maybe a fight between both of them with multiple knockdowns back and forth. That's a hell of a fight. That's exciting.
It's actually a perfect matchup.
Put me in, coach.
Literally a perfect matchup. Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Two former Canelo opponents. Both have been knocked out
Mhm.
since they fought Canelo. Perfect comeback fight. The only thing Mongea's got is the issue with the whole PED story and whatnot.
Correct. Correct.
Um, I want to go a bit more into that. I mean, we all love Canelo. We love what he brings. We love who he is. Why are so many in his camp ending up testing positive? What's the story here?
That's a great question. And I think it's a lot has to do with when you want to push the narrative one way or another. For instance, and I'll be clear on that, Chihuas Rodriguez, the last kid that is tested positive. Eddie Reynoso doesn't train him. Eddie Reynoso doesn't manage him. Eddie Reynoso doesn't promote him. Eddie's helped him in the past and sponsored him. He had the patch on. And Eddie finally meets him a couple of days. In fact, I think the day he posted the picture is when he went a day before to thank Eddie for supporting him, helping him, and motivating him. And obviously, the kid went over, showed the belt, took a picture, and that was the first time meeting. Um, I've talked to Eddie, and I've talked to other team members as well. It's like when you accept to train a fighter, it should be all under your rules, your team. You do the nutrition, you do the conditioning, you have your own. But in a lot of cases, Eddie's just a trainer. Even for Canelo, Eddie's just a trainer. He's not the conditioning coach. He's not the guy giving him the supplements. He's not doing the weight lifting with him. He's not uh, preparing his meals. He's just in the gym preparing them and training them. So I think it's unfair that the attack's been on Eddie. It should be more on the fighter. Look, as a fighter, you're responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
Especially today, you can't just say from whoever comes to you, say, take this, it's going to make you feel good, you're going to sleep better. You learn by a trial and error, and now it should be like, look, everything's gets submitted for approval. I think in the case, a lot of times, and this is not recent, I haven't believed the way that it's been handled in years is the correct way. And here's how I mean on that. You're my opponent. You're doing your random testing in your camp. I'm doing my random testing. One of us tests positive. They have to notify the promoter. They
Hmm.
have to notify each camp. I think that is as far as it should get at that particular point. There's inconclusive. There's a reason to believe we have a positive test. We're notifying each side. However, we need to do all our research. You got to test the B sample. Now, most of the time, B sample is going to test exactly the same as the A sample. It's the same piss. You just separate it into two different cups. So if this cup that I pissed in is contaminated, then of course A and B is going to be contaminated. So I'm not saying that's what's happening, but this should be right now held amongst those that are involved. Once it's conclusive and I've presented my evidence of why I believe I'm not positive and hair sample and do the rest of the testings and prove, then it stays within that group. If I can't prove that this was contamination or something outside of me taking, because you could tell by the levels above where it's supposed to be normal. If you're you could tell if it's outside of the norms, it's by injection or oral. If it's very borderline, I mean, shit. There's men in their 70s that have high testosterone, and it's just their body. There's men in their 30s that have low testosterone.
Hmm.
It's not, I mean, it's their bodies. It's just, so it's a science behind it. But once it's proven that, okay, you did take something, then it should be announced to the world in the media and everything. Because what I don't like is they're never going to say they were wrong. And I'm saying the agencies. But what I'm saying is if it's proven that you're innocent, it's too late. The
Damage is
world
done.
already, the
Yeah.
damage is done. The world, the sponsors, the fans, the media, they already tagged you as a cheater. And it's hard to erase that right away. Those, they paid somebody off. They're trying to club. Nah, those days are very hard uh, to believe. But I have seen fighters that are hurt so bad from the perception that they're cheating
Mm.
when they're not. And I remember, again, I can't put my hands in fire for anybody because I don't know, I'm not 24 hours there, but it's very, very hard. I mean, Mungia, he didn't fight like a fighter that had PDs or looked any different. In fact, he looked very, again, well, what I was saying earlier, he fought very controlled, not like the Mungia that we know, aggressive throwing. Nah, you know what? I'm gonna take it round by round. Now that could be a lot of corner control, just win round by round. But if you taking something, then it's gonna be like, man, I'm Superman. I'm gonna go out there and knock this guy out. So again, I really believe the way it's handled, it should be handled a little different. As long as both team knows, obviously you have to be told, hey, your guy just. Now, here's one. What happened this weekend? Morel's opponent, they said he had tested positive, but then he fought. I mean, that was confusing.
And Morel was in trouble during the fight, where Benavidez didn't do to Morel what his opponent did.
Yeah. So it's always like, why say it until it's proven?
Yeah.
Why have to be the first one? Oh, he tested positive. And it's like,
Because the way the media is built nowadays, it's all about
yeah,
being first and clickbait. I mean, so who gets the most attention is the first person with the most controversial headline. That's how it is.
I have a feeling that when it's all said and done, and I don't know, I haven't talked to, I'm just, hey, I send support. I have a feeling there's going to be a good explanation on regarding Mungia because this is a young kid in his prime, uh, not in a big fight for say, like,
Mm,
I'm, if anything, why didn't he test positive against Canelo?
exactly.
But
Yeah.
but eh, we don't even know. I don't think they even said what the levels are. because
Yeah.
again, I think that's important. If the levels are just borderline of normal, then wait a minute. Even I think one of the organizations, or even it might have been Vada, who said, depending on the region, I think if they said we are going to accept a certain level above norm of clumbeterol for Mexico because it's so known that it is tainted meat in Mexico from middle of Mexico to the south. The cattle ranchers use that. It doesn't happen from the border to middle because that a lot of gets exported to the US, and that could be a scandal of poisoning. So in Mexico, in the south, it gets from the center to the south. It's known that they put it in the meat, make it faster, grow faster, more pounds, move on, sell it quicker. From the northern, like from the border to the middle, a lot of that gets exported to the U.S. and you can't have an international scandal of people because it makes what happens if you ingest it and you're not an athlete that's going to get tested. Maybe you get some upset stomach, you get a little sick, you go to the hospital. Oh, you had poisoning, go home, no scandal. But in the US, oh, and this is coming from over there, you're exporting stuff with prohibited stuff. Now it could become a big problem. So they've even allowed a certain level. So if Mexico has that problem with clumbeterol, why can't other countries have an issue that we don't know about? Whether it's the water, whether it's fish, whether it's chicken, whether it's, you never know. So there has to be a way of saying, okay, how much higher was he? Okay, this much higher? Wait a minute, this could only be by injection or orally. It can't be by contamination.
Hmm.
Then, then it could clear up a lot. But
Hmm.
but you're positive you cheated.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. Um, why are we not seeing pay-per-view numbers anymore? I mean, we're not. They're not being. They're not being released. We haven't been hearing much about them at all. We're seeing these massive shows, but we're not seeing pay-per-view numbers.
I think a lot of times when the numbers aren't something
Yeah.
to put out there to break records now, it's like if you put them out there, people are going to judge like, oh, see, so and so does better. And a lot of times it's to save that image. But I think right now it's times are changing, and having so many pay-per-views, one after another, eh,
It's exhausting.
exactly for the fans, to pay.
Yeah.
But I think they will continue playing when the fights are the fights that they want to see.
Hmm. Speaking of pay-per-views, there's a legend that's coming back this weekend, Manny Pacquiao versus the young Mario Barrios. I mean, I need to get your predictions on this. See how you think the fight will pan out. What you think of the whole comeback, so on and so on.
You know, it's amazing to even think, and we're talking about Manny Pacquiao still fighting when one of the first times he was on the stage, and we were in San Antonio against him with Marco Antonio Barrera, and how many years ago was that? But logic says Mario Barrios, younger, active, bigger,
Stronger, yeah, yeah.
stronger, everything, and that's logic. And but in boxing, logic doesn't exist. And if anybody can do it, it's Manny Pacquiao, because how many times has he defied the odds? Now, yeah, but he's been gone for 4 years, 5 years. Okay. After doing it for 20 plus years, maybe the break helped him rest the body that's been through so many sparring, so many camps, so many fights. One thing is that he doesn't have to try. He walks in with an aura into that ring. Can that hurt Barrios, or can that motivate Barrios?
Yeah.
Does Barrios, once the bell, again, you could be doing everything in camp, but once it's just you and him in that ring, and the bell rings, do you go, wow, I'm in the ring with Manny Pacquiao,
With a legend.
with the legend of this nature, though? Or do you grow and say, it's my time now? So a lot's going to be answered. I still see a little bit of that speed that we're all used to. Barrios is going to come forward. That's another thing. Everything's expected from Barrios. I remember when fighters would fight Bernard. Oh, I got to knock him out. I got to knock him out because he's an old man. If I don't knock him out, it's like losing. No, you just got to win. Forget about knocking out a legend. You just got to win. And if he knockout comes, great. I mean, we've seen knockout champions get aged overnight and get stopped. Now, a lot of times, I'm one that keeps going to the histories in the past. That guy that beat up on the older one eventually becomes the older one that gets beat up by the younger one. And I'll give you an example. Larry Holmes goes up and, in his last fights with Muhammad Ali,
Muhammad Ali.
last fights, he beats up on Muhammad Ali because he was just younger, bigger, stronger.
Stronger.
Years later, same thing happened to Larry Holmes when he got beat up by a young kid named Mike Tyson, right? So it comes back full circle. And I think, we saw Manny, a young Manny Pacquiao, years ago beat up on an older version of Oscar De La Hoya.
Oscar De La Hoya, yeah.
Does this now become that version of the guy, the Mexican American coming in and avenging that defeat and beating up on Manny Pacquiao? It could end on one night because he can finally, we could say, wow, he finally aged, which would be accepted. The only one that's undefeated is Father Time. Now I'll tell you,
Yeah.
because in early on, I was with Marco when he fought Manny, but more recently, I was with Lucas Matisse, and he was fighting Manny. And I looked at Manny, hadn't seen him for years. I saw him in Malaysia, and I said, there's no way in hell he's going to beat Lucas. Lucas was younger, bigger, stronger. And I looked over, and Manny looked little and old. Now, that was probably 8 years ago. And not only did he beat him, he stopped him, looked incredible. I mean, if there's one guy I learned you can't go against, when many years ago, it's Manny Pacquiao. So if I have to pick right now, my pick is, it's not logic. It's Manny Pacquiao one more time.
How crazy is the aura that he brings to LA? LA is a massive. Is buzzing at the moment. You got him running every day, the Griffith Park Hills, doing the sit ups out in the public, people lining up, wanting to see him, meet him. At 40, what is it? Is he 46 now?
46.
46 years old, to still have that presence, to do that training camp, running 12Ks up those mountains or whatever it is, and doing thousands of sit ups after it, then doing sparring in the afternoon and the boxing and so on top of all that. He just brings this buzz to LA. It makes you want to go just to see him and be a part of it all.
I think it's his personality. I think there's certain fighters that need to have that amount of people, while there's other fighters that I don't. But that's what makes him so popular, loved, and everybody can say, I met him. I took a picture with him. He gives everybody the time. He's always smiling. You don't see like those bad moments, because everybody would accept it if he has, hey, you know what? Hey, can you give me some time? And that's normal. No, he's always like, I don't personally, I know him because of when we did the two Barrera fights and stuff, and I know him because I've seen him in some of the fights, and always, but always very courteous to anybody. I was with Golden Boy when the Marquez fights and stuff. So always very courteous to everybody, smiling with everybody, time of day, whatever, if they come up for a picture, an autograph. But I think he does strive, and we've seen it through the years on a large group. But now, if it was only for money, it was only because I need to fight again, I wouldn't see that energy in running up those hills, inspire. I think it's the love of the sport, and he loves it, and he loves
The
what
event,
comes
the
with it.
event, yeah,
Exactly,
the event.
exactly.
Yeah,
So, good example is you need salt and pepper to make that steak good.
yeah,
Well, you got two generational greats in Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. It's just one is so loved and the other one isn't, but they're both very important. You have to have the villain. You have to have
they're both ingredients. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. And I think he is a natural one. And think of it, how many other fighters, it's easier to be hated than it is to be loved like that.
Oh
And
yeah,
the fans don't care if he loses and gets knocked out. They still love him
yeah.
because he's a real they feel part of him. Not only back home in the Philippines, like you said, in LA, it's impressive. I mean, young kids are coming. I saw Virgil running with him the other day, and everybody coming,
Everyone's.
and it's just
Yeah.
incredible the atmosphere and how he makes everybody feel wanted.
Lopez was there, and he's from the East Coast. Tiafimo.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he just brings this energy, and you know what? LA needs that energy right now. After everything they've been through the last 6 months, 7 months,
Yeah,
he's the perfect energy to bring into LA. He's
100%.
peaceful, harmonious. People love him. People will line up to see him work out. Look at the lines after his workout. Just take photos of him, and he sits there to the very end, person after person. The other day, I watched on Ali Sekbak's one of Ali's videos, who's always around him. A guy who's 101 years old. He had met Manny multiple times before. Manny remembered him. So,
Wow.
it's just it's crazy, man. It's the guy's one in a generation. He's
100%. And
what he
when
brings to
you
the
tell a
table.
fan
Yeah,
and be specific, oh yes, I remember. You know how special that is for that person, and then
hundred percent,
wow, Manny remembered me. That's incredible. That's
hundred
incredible.
percent. Yeah.
But
So,
that's genuine.
and I think one of the motivating factors to come back is the unveiling of his son as well on his card. I think this is his son's
Pro
um,
debut.
entrance to the boxing ecosystem, fighting on the same card as his dad. The world will see what the future Pacquiao family or name's going to bring to the boxing world. Personally, that's my personal opinion.
I think that's beautiful. If you can, I mean, that's longevity to be able to fight on the same card. I mean, look, this is a man that uh, International Boxing Hall of Fame and still fighting for a world title. I mean, he's achieved everything. I don't think it's money. I don't think it's a need. I think it's more of I want to give the fans one more. I want to give them. I want to feel that love again from them and that cheering. And I miss it. I miss it
Yeah,
because I've been gone for a few years. And look, no disrespect to Barrios, but he's a new champion. The experience is not all there. He's going to trade. He has to be very disciplined because you can't just trade with this guy because he's double impact. If you come in, he's countering you. So he had trouble all the time with these guys that come after trying to knock his head off because they're coming in with force. He's meeting them with force.
absolutely. Roberto, always a pleasure, my man. I mean, me and you can talk for ever we've passed the hour mark again.
So much.
Thank you very much for joining me on the show. Before we wrap things up, you got any parting words for us? Any final words?
No, thank you for having me. Hopefully, next time we talk, which is soon, we'll have some good news for Lamont Roach. Who, look, he's been training, he's been champion, he's a trooper. He's just, just waiting for, I need my date. I need my opponent. I need to get it done and get back in the ring for his fans and his supporters. So hopefully we'll have some news soon.
Hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Roberto Diaz, thank you very much for joining me on Raw Sport. Take care.